Welcome to the Aligned Life Podcast by yours truly, Dr. Tiffany. How about we get out that magnifying glass and look at every part of your life, the awesome, the suck, and everything in between. There's so much beauty in you. Stop being afraid of what isn't good enough and let's double down on what is together. It's about your truth and your life, aligned.
Everybody, welcome back to the Aligned Life. It's me today, and I'm going to share a bit about what I've noticed in the community, in the world, and particularly in my office. And it centers around energy that I'm feeling when I'm adjusting people, energy that I feel by looking at you, and it's stuck, it's stagnant. It doesn't feel good. And I've noticed it for a while. Last week was heavier, and I thought this might be the perfect time to talk about what you can do about it. How do you know you're there? What does it feel like, and how to get it to move through? So I'm going to be spitballing a little bit. Of course, I have my outline, but I get excited about a few things, and I start to just keep talking about what I'm seeing. And I think the unique perspective is that I have my hands on hundreds of people every week. And in that energy, I can feel the energy of how you connect to your people also. So it's like I get this community energy just by having my hands on you. And it feels really heavy. So first things first, I'm going to lay out how you may feel. And I am a firm believer of talking about real and raw so that you don't feel weird thinking it. When I can express what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, when I can say some of the things that most people wouldn't ever admit to, it may break your barrier down a little bit. And maybe that armor isn't so protective that you think how you feel is crazy and bad and you don't want anyone to know about it. It's just like a deadlocked secret. As soon as we can be vulnerable and own our trauma, we will begin to heal. I talk about it in terms of lighting up your body, right? Whatever we keep in the shadow, whatever we keep in the dark, whatever isn't illuminated becomes a problem in you. It becomes trauma. And now you start to put up your walls about something that has become so secretive. And so I just want to make it a bit normal. I want to talk about the things that we are really struggling with and people aren't talking about it. I want to bring it out into the light so that you feel like, oh, she maybe gets me, or wow, I do feel like that. I haven't even paid attention to my body for the last 6 months because I'm in such a stress mode and I'm scared and I feel like this uncertainty is totally rocking my boat. It is. It totally is. And the easiest thing we can do is admit it first. So let's just talk about how you might feel. You're tired, you feel sluggish during the day, you might need to drink pop in the morning, coffee in the morning just to get going, just to get buzzing, right? But on the second part of that, you don't sleep good, or you maybe fall asleep right away. You wake up at 3 a.m. with your hamster wheel just going and going and going, and you can't come down from that. There's a stress response that happens that interrupts our sleep. Our sleep is our healing time. And the first organ that starts that healing time, I shouldn't say the first, but the liver starts to do its work between 10 and 11 p.m. It's one of our detox organs. And so when we're struggling to sleep, or we try to start going to bed at 10 and we don't get to sleep till midnight, and now we're anxious and frustrated and mad, and all of those things will affect how your brain and how your body heals. So you might feel all of the things around not sleeping good and blame it on stress, of course. You may feel this emptiness, loneliness. This is one of the things that I'm finding that women especially are starting to hide from even more, because we are not allowed to interact with people as much. We're not allowed to connect with people as much. So those of you who are extroverts or get your energy from people that you love are really struggling. During this time, you maybe would have had 3 trips scheduled with your closest friends, your closest family, everybody getting together, and you're not able to. Depending on where you are in the world, there are still many, many provinces, countries that are on lockdown to some degree, so you're not able to interact with your people. And I just had a conversation with somebody last week that said, we don't even really know who our friends are, because there are polar opposite philosophies right now. So now we add an emptiness and loneliness onto a philosophically challenged body. You don't know where you stand, but none of it feels that good. Your friends have changed, your coworkers have changed, and everything around you feels like you're in this little tiny canoe in the middle of the ocean with these big old waves in the dark. And that's that external, like, not outer body experience. That's not the right word. It's the focus on what the external environment is doing instead of how can I control what my internal environment is doing. Maybe you've noticed you're moody, agitated, you're easily set off. You don't ever feel really calm, like your heart rate is kind of always up. You always have this little twirly bird in your tummy that's just not settled. It's not content. And maybe you didn't feel like this before. Maybe you did a little bit, but you know that this feels icky. Maybe your cycle is different. You're struggling getting pregnant. Your digestive system is completely whacked. And the gut is the second brain. And 80% of the gut is made up of your immune system. So 80%, oh, did I say that wrong? 80% of your immune system lives in your gut. So if your gut is your second brain, that's what controls how you think and how you feel. You can imagine this feedback loop that is constantly disconnected and interrupted. No wonder why you don't feel good. On top of that, your brain is in straight up fight or flight and low reserves. Fight or flight meaning everything is like mosquito zapper. Remember those long time ago at the lake? Anytime a bug would come near that zapper, it just goes zzz. That's how you feel. Like that's how your energy feels. It's constantly like high up to your eyeballs. So how do we admit it? And then what do we do about it? And from a woman's perspective and a chiropractor's perspective, the woman is the emotional anchor many times. Not always, but the woman is that feminine energy, okay? And our family, our kids, our spouses sense that. The feminine energy is the calm. It's the caretaker. It's the peacemaker, the healer, the communicator. So how do we get back into that feminine energy? And masculine energy right now is imbalanced too. It's not about one being better than the other, but it's about each one of them being balanced. Because when we start looking at ourselves as humans, and maybe you've done personality tests and you've done a lot of in-depth personal development on yourself to kind of know who you are and what you stand for. And now you're rocked, like you're rocked to the core and you're not really sure what to do. What I've noticed is so many of our personalities are even imbalanced. So let's say you're on the DISC model, you're the I, you're the extrovert, life, the party, and that's being totally changed because you're not able to be that. You're not able to be with people and connect, have fun, do all those things. Or maybe the C is being challenged because there are no consistent routines. right? There are no predictable outcomes right now. Everything just feels a little bit out of control. And so now even our personality feels imbalanced. It feels like, my God, I don't even know who I am and what I stand for. And now your values that you've created prior to the stress of what's happened the last 6 months aren't working. The values that you used to live by aren't working. And so what do? You normally would have this hobby and that feels crappy. You normally would spend time with these people and that feels crappy. And you normally would be totally lit up in your job and that feels crappy. So where do you turn? And I always suggest we have to start with listening with our body, listening to our body. If we aren't knowing what our body, what our heart, what our gut is trying to tell us, we're not listening to our body. And I call it awareness a lot of times, but most people don't know what the heck that means either, because you can be aware of your body from an external perspective. But being aware of your body internally is totally different. How does it feel? If you were just to sit down, feet on the floor, palms up in your lap, and close your eyes, how does it really feel? Have you ever admitted it? Does it feel awful, out of control, unstable, sick, empty? Does it feel like there's kind of some glimmers here and there, but you're not even like sure where they are? So from there, it makes it difficult to make decisions based on maybe a different set of thoughts, beliefs, and values. Or do you feel lit up? Do you feel that this stage, what has happened in the world, what has happened everywhere around you, has been the thing that you needed? Because it brought you out of your comfort zone and into more introspect. What do I really want? If these things are not available to me anymore, how can I create something that matters? How can I be better and start to live in a little bit more purpose, meaning, or reason, so that now I can change my story or my life or my relationship or my work? But what's happening is we're stuck in the external energy. We're stuck in the canoe, in the deep, dark sea, in the storm. And we're so scared of it. Yet we're not thinking about what we can do. How do I need to change right now? How do I need to modify how I'm thinking? How do I tell my ego to shut the heck up? Do I even know what the voices are? It feels like it's all just empty. How do you start to hone in on you being in control of only one thing? You, your thoughts. Create your beliefs, create your actions, your values, your personality, your ideals, and your life. And so if this time has stressed you so much and you're not happy with the result of what it's squeezed out of you, then you get to start over today. Today, you get to start over. Look inside of yourself. Let go of what's not serving you. And when I say let go, I mean we are so afraid of being weak. We're so afraid of feeling that we're not doing enough, that we're not being enough, that we're not enough, that we're starting to sacrifice ourselves for trying to be, do, have enough externally. And that isn't where it begins, guys. It begins with us. What do I need to up level? Where do I need to start? And it's always with yourself. If your marriage is struggling, it's not your spouse. If your kids are behaving poorly, it's not your kids. If your job sucks, it's not your boss or employees. Start with you. As we look into our family dynamic and we're struggling with our kids, because 1 out of 6 kids right now is being diagnosed with a mental or behavioral challenge. And if you've been following me for any time, the number 1 diagnosis is anxiety. How can they not be anxious knowing how you feel right now? Because if you're so scared of being weak and not good enough so that you don't even sit down on the couch after supper because you're afraid you're going to fall asleep, or you're so scared to cry and show brokenness so that you keep this rigid layer up so nobody else can hurt you because everyone has screwed you, your kids see it and your kids feel it, and now your kids are becoming it. So how do we stop it? How do we step into our body and say, all right, this is my life to live, and this is where I'm going to start? Because our soul is in a state of beauty or suffering at any point. And the state of suffering is meant to just be a nudge. It's just meant to be a poke. It's not meant to stay there. And so if you're in a state of suffering right now, if your soul feels like what I've just said, that's your sign to evaluate what you want and how you want it to be. I recommend every day, in the morning and in the night, to write down what you're grateful for. And I mean really to feel with love what you are grateful for. Because you can focus on planting more seeds in your lawn, or you can focus on pulling the weeds. And I will always, 110% of the time, remind you to focus on planting more seeds. Some are going to take, some aren't. Keep on focusing on moving forward. And if you need to put blinders on for a while because ego is screaming at you, and so is your mother-in-law, and so are your kids, do it. Focus on what you can control, which is you. And the second thing, 2 easy things, is to start a practice of breathing, feeling. It doesn't have to be meditation. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it prayer, but to take you out of your thinking brain and down into receiving and a presence brain. That's where healing begins. So when you're sitting there, your feet are on the floor, palms up in your lap, and you start to breathe, scan your body from head to toe. It may feel like the weirdest thing on earth, and whatever, it might be. It works. When you get clear in your breath and you focus only on your breath, when you can look into your body with that magnifying glass and only focus on looking into your body, you will find answers. That's where your angels live. That's where God lives. Whatever your spiritual belief system is, that is where the power is. It is not in focusing on the waves in the big, dark, scary sea in a canoe. You have the tools Now you get to make the change. And if we were to approach life as in everything is for us, not to us, everything that happens in your life happens for you, to your benefit, not to you, as in being a victim, you may start to see gifts. Those gifts may be hidden. And if you're not seeing it with the perspective that I just shared, you're going to see them as challenges. You're going to say things like, oh, well, everything goes in 3, so let's just wait for it. Oh, I'm not lucky like that guy. Oh, well, I should be thankful. At least I don't have cancer like my neighbor does. Those are all limiting beliefs that start from somewhere, way back into our childhood usually. So if we were to see ourselves with that magnifying glass and see it with love, see the magnifying glass full of gratitude, love, grace, we'll start to see ourselves in a different light because we're strong. We are the glue, not only for our families, but in our work and in our community. And the more we can come together and be better for ourselves, the more our kids are going to see it, feel it. The more our spouse is going to see it and feel it. The more your employees, everybody that's connected to you will start to see it and feel it. And that's how we're going to make the change. Sometimes the scary decision is the right decision. And it only takes 4%. 4% is what, I don't know where it came from. Some smart person said that being 4% out of your comfort zone will make dramatic differences in your life. It's not anything big, but it's making a decision that isn't as comfortable as staying comfortable is. You know, I always talk about our comfort zone is the safest, quote, place to be, but it's the scariest place to be. It is not safe to be stuck in your comfort zone. So step into your body, listen to what it's saying, and know that when we're struggling with all the things right now, that we can make a difference. That you, by taking responsibility for yourself, will make your partnership better with your spouse. It'll make your kids better. It'll make your work better. It'll make your health better. Because all these health issues that I'm seeing in people will not stop until you take personal responsibility for it. They will not magically go away. They're going to become worse because we have such an imbalance happening right now. We have such a lack of control. We have so much fear, and the deep-rooted fear of being controlled and in a situation we are not comfortable in being in. So how can you step back and take back your power? Because there are things going on that we cannot control. But your body is telling me that you're struggling. And it's okay to admit that you're struggling. It's okay to admit that you're scared. It's okay to admit that you're not sure what to do. And that's what I'm here for. Reach out. Help me understand where you're at, and I will help you. Believe that you have the ability to change your life, because you do. It's just a decision away. I love you guys.
Thank you for listening and following the Align Life podcast with Dr. Tiffany. If you love this and can think of anyone who needs to hear about it, would you mind sharing with them? Find me online at drtiffanyjohnson.com, where you can find out more about my memberships, courses, mentoring, and any upcoming events. To learn more about chiropractic for you and your family, Go to htcairo.com and follow our social pages. I can't wait to connect with you soon, and until then, be you, be aligned.